Hello again, and welcome to a nice drop of Port Auckland FC's fan podcast for the fans, by the fans. Tonight we're going to be dissecting that incredible 2-2 game over in Melbourne. Topsy-turvy or what? Plenty of controversy, plenty of stuff to discuss from the game. We've also on the show tonight got Auckland FC's Director of Football, Terry McFlynn, who's going to be coming on this evening. I spoke to him a little bit earlier on today. He couldn't actually come on with us live tonight, but some incredible insights from Terry about what it's like inside this football club at the moment. And of course, we all know the backstory and how short a time it's been and how far we've come. So really great to speak to Terry this evening. But first, welcome to Blair. Welcome back, Blair. How you going, mate?
G'day, mate. Good. Lovely to be here again.
I'm delighted to see that you've changed your shirt.
Yeah, it's the new Port shirt.
For the audio listeners, he's got a black one now, and it's still the Port livery on it, of course, and yeah. I think there's some stuff written on the back. But so he's got a new shirt, which is great. So Blair's going to be giving us some great insights tonight about what's going on inside the Port supporter base, and also reflecting on the game as well. Robbie, welcome to the show, mate. How are you going over there in Sydney?
Yeah, not bad. I have stepped away from my department's Christmas drinks to join the podcast. So there's nothing like sobering up by talking to you blokes. So and the sooner we can wrap this up, the sooner I can go back to my Christmas party.
That's good. That's good commit. That's a good commitment.
Yeah.
We all know they only give you light beer over there, right? They can't give you anything too strong with the Aussies because things get.
There's the better beers back home. I'll be honest. Yes,
that's right. and we got Matt as well. The Olympic flame. He never goes out. He's still I'm in an hour, and if he's going to go down to the game, there's some news on that later in the podcast, I believe. Matt,
maybe I'd leave that as a bit of a bombshell. I'd love to say that I'm doing something interesting, and I've got an absolutely fantastic social life, but not really. No, I'm just at home as I always have, and ready to go. Yep.
But always got a good opinion on football. That's why you're on the show, Matt. Remember your base. You know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get straight into it. This game over in Melbourne, 2-2. Obviously, all of us guys would have watched it later or watched it live. Well, let's go to Blair first. What were your reflections of the first half of the game? And we've talked a lot about on the show about what happens when Auckland FC go behind, and they went behind. What did you see from the team there, Blair?
Wasn't pretty. Won't lie, but it can't really be helped considering Dan Hall's injury came late on Friday. You know, team travelling on Saturday. I can't really fault them for the result, but I felt like considering, we had a 19-year-old McKinlay making his professional debut in midfield, and Sakai having a shift as emergency cover of centre back. I'm not too fussed over the result.
But what about that first half though? I mean, we like you say, we shaped up with injuries, new players. I thought they did okay that first half. Obviously, we went behind, which was
we seemed like half a step behind the Melbourne City team. Like they were just sort of winning those 50-50s a bit more than us in the first half, and that led to that first goal going in. McKinlay, I think, didn't track his man, and which led to Mimiti getting his chance, and yeah.
And then so we go 1-0 down half time. I have to say, even at that point, I thought, look, we've obviously taken, we're 1 down and we're not doing that well. We've got some new players in, but I thought we had a chance at half time. Robbie, what were your sort of views on us coming out of that half? Because all the action was in the second half, really.
Yeah. Look, I mean. Yeah, I felt for Finn McKinlay in that situation. It was really tough for a youngster coming in, making his first start, hot conditions as well, and the pitch was terrible, which I'm sure we'll come to, given what happened later in the game. Yeah, it wasn't the best of debuts for young Finn, but the fact that he did have so many minutes behind him coming into pre-season, I know there's a bit about him. Maybe this just wasn't the best game for him to show what he can do. So I think it'll be better for this run. I don't know necessarily if they'll look to start him again, but I think it's important to keep him involved in the first team and keep giving him minutes. As far as the response, And I will say, I did pick them going behind on the weekend. As I said, I did say in the group chat. I just really like the resilience of this team. And I mentioned the stat last week. Melbourne's not typically a great place for New Zealand teams to go to and succeed. So the fact that they got a point going behind a couple of times, there's something about this team. So, look, yes, the winning record's over. But to go to Melbourne against a City team that is coming into some form, I think that's a very good point to get, to be honest. So disappointed we didn't get 3 points. Happy that we got one, considering, the injuries and the way that the first half panned out. I really like how this team's been built. The resilience is there. I think we got a good team on our hands. If I'm really honest, I think there's something about this team.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, I was right behind Finn McKenley, being a fellow ginger. There's no way I was going to get on that young ginger lad's back. It was a tough first game for him, certainly. So we come out in the second half, and the response is a goal basically from the near post header. Matthew, what did you make of that stage of the play? Did you feel like we were going to get back in it then?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've all summed up the first half pretty well. I mean, I guess the ratings will come up in a moment. That almost reflects kind of what Blair and Robbie have said there. But I think it was just I think it answered the question that I always had about the character of the team. And when they do go 1-0 down, and or they do concede first, and they concede for a little while, exactly how they're going to perform. I think it ticked quite a few good boxes really in terms of the character and the will still to. I mean, having players like Sakai and De Vries stood up in that game as well. I thought he had another really good game. My back, Gillian, is it May or I say May? Is it May? I think up front. I think never stopped running and also with Matter coming on as well. But there you go. So there's the ratings. I mean, you've talked about McKenley. I can't. I am denied about the rating there. I think I've given him a 6 because I really had to think about. It didn't start as a 6. You could probably imagine maybe where the number did start. But it was just the circumstance that you had to be careful with. It's his first game. It's away from home. As Robbie mentioned there, difficult place to go to, with the heat as well. So, I didn't want to go too much.
Well, let's read them out. I'll read them out for our audio-only listeners. So we got Paulson at 5.5. We'll talk more about Paulson in a second, no doubt. Sakai 7, Elliott 6.5, Pennicus 6, DeFries 7.5. McKenley 6, Gallagher 7, Rogerson 6.5, Bremer 7, Gillian 6.5, my 7.5, and Moreno also a 7.5. I mean, the goal scorers absolutely.
I think.
We didn't have a grip on the game like we've had on other games, certainly.
No, I mean the first half just kind of passed them by, didn't it? They never really. I mean, shout out to I think is he 17 years old, the guy that scored the first goal. I mean, he is the kid. The kid. He is someone really to keep a hold of. I mean, it just shows you, when players are of a certain age, you can really start to see. It's extremely difficult for someone of that age to come into a men's professional football game and to stand out. It's really difficult, and you can see how difficult McKenley found it. But the guy for the victory, he was fantastic. Yeah,
it was an action-packed game. We're talking about the 1-1, and then Melbourne have a goal disallowed, which there's not really much fanfare about. But of course, then we score a goal, and I've watched it back again. Who wants to Blair? Do you want to take a stab at this and explain what happened and why it was offside?
And then Robbie knows.
Someone else can have a go.
We were robbed, is what happened.
No, scrap that. I think Robbie can. Yeah.
No, let Blair with his eye patches go first.
Yeah.
Sure. Someone on Twitter sort of pulled up the rule, and it's to my understanding, it's a pretty obscure rule. Like it has to do with him, Brimmer crossing over the dead ball line, then coming back into play. Robbie probably has the exact rule pulled up in front of him right now, so I'll let him take this page.
Do it.
So because I spotted this and watching the game, I was like, WTF, as much as anyone else. But then I spotted this on Twitter from West Sydney Football. So bear with me. An attacking player may step or stay off the field of play not to be involved in active play. if the player re-enters from the goal line and becomes involved in play before the next stoppage, or the defending team has played the ball towards the halfway line and it is outside the penalty area, the player will be considered to be positioned on the goal line for the purposes of offside. Very obscure, and it's one of those ones you do kind of have to tip your cap to the officials to pick it up, because it's such an obscure thing, but it's one of those ones the players won't necessarily know. It's literally if Jake Brimmer, because when he takes the corner, and I'm sure everyone would have seen it, when he takes the corner, he kind of steps backwards.
He wanders
past
off the
byline.
Yeah.
He goes off the pitch, but behind the goal, behind the byline. If he does that and steps out of play on the sideline, he's fine. It's like, it's a, you know,
It is what it is.
how do you, as a player, how do you kind of know that? It's awareness. Your awareness needs to be off the charts.
But is it where Brimmer stood when De Vries puts the second ball in, or is it the
no?
The
he comes back. So he hits the corner,
the goalie, right? Yeah, and go on.
It comes back off. It's not clear to me if it comes off directly off the punch of the goalkeeper or if it hits another defender on the way. But the fact that Brimmer is out of play when that ball comes back, he then steps onto the field, so he has to be by law considered offside. It's a really tough one, and I don't think it was explained as well as it could have. And it's not.
It's
look,
not
being on the inside with that, being on the inside with that broadcast situation, a lot of that has to be directed by the VAR. So we hear what the VAR says, and we try and pass it on to commentators, who then pass it out onto everyone else.
But how is he interfering with play? How is he interfering with play out there? He's
passes
not.
it to De Vries.
He's not.
Yeah, he's so far out
by
away
law.
from
And look, every one of us knows how finicky football laws are, especially with match officials who will take everything to the nth degree. Technically, he's offside.
I'd love to know how many people or how many players know that as well. I reckon not many would.
Same.
When it was explained to them, I think a lot of them were quite confused.
And look, it's one of those things. I guess if you go on the feel of the game, is there much impact? I mean, look, it does lead to a goal. Yeah. But it's
such fine margins with all of these VAR decisions, and you win some, you lose some. That's the way you have
it just doesn't pass the eye test. If any one of us would have looked at that and gone, "What?"
Yeah, well, I was.
But whereas any normal situation, you'd look at it and go, "Oh, that's offside."
Yeah, I always worry about rules because you said like finicky, but I always think the more rules that you add that are similar to that, the more difficult the game becomes. That's what I think is a problem with rugby. That's
rugby
the problem.
union.
You watch rugby, you've got I mean, that's why. I mean, I don't watch it anyway, but I know people that do sometimes watch it, or they watch it with their partner.
All the kicking rules,
and they're like, I can't
get stuck in a room and they have to watch it. Things like that.
Yeah, that's why I thought the strength of football, that football is just a lot more simpler. I mean, the offside rule can be, but apart from that, it's pretty much you see what you get really on the pitch.
Yeah. All right, and so
it's a hard one.
It's a hard one. We were left a bit confused, but then the game was such that type of game that they went up the other end pretty much. I don't think it was long after Melbourne and Pinecker somehow gets himself into a situation where he needs to do a back pass, and it literally is like it happened in slow motion. Who wants to have a go at that? I mean, should Pinecker have been doing a back pass in that situation? Robbie used to play in goal. Would you be impressed with that sort of back pass coming at you?
I will caveat all that by saying I was a goalkeeper 20 years and at least 20 kilos ago. I was always taught, and this was just with our coach at high school, it's on, if I'm giving the pass, it's on me to make it as easy for the recipient as possible.
Yeah.
Did Nando do that?
No.
No.
No. What foot is Poulsen? Is he right or left-footed?
Right. He's right-footed.
But there's the problem straight away. He kicked it to his left-hand side. So he is comfortable on his left. He can play off his left foot. Wow. Yeah, but like you said there, when I was I
100%.
played defence, I was a right back. When you passed it back to the goalkeeper, apart from
pass it to their best foot.
You pass it to their best side, yeah.
Or for me
100% agree.
as a defender, I used to pass it so it wasn't going towards the goal if I could. You know what I mean? So like if in my mind, if he does mess it up, it's not hard enough and on target enough that it's going to go in. I mean, there's that kind of. He could have just played it to the side so Poulsen could have come onto it. You know. But anyway,
it's so hard.
He's not expecting
so
that to happen.
And look, I will defend the goalkeepers union here. It wasn't the best pass for Poulsen. At the same time, you watch Alex Poulsen do anything else during a game when, like, for example, if he's facing a shot, his feet are planted and he's balanced and ready. When you look at when he's receiving that back pass, he's not. He's got at least 1 foot in the air. He's still tracking backwards. He's not ready to receive that pass. So to me, that means it's maybe just like half a second of him switching off concentration. And I've been in that position. It's not great. It's really not great because the pitch was terrible. And even Aurelio Vidmar, Melbourne City's coach, after the game, when we interviewed him, said, and I'd like to thank the Amy Park groundsman. The pitch wasn't great. So that's going to happen in a game of football. Can you look? It's one of those ones you sometimes can't really. It's just unexpected. You know, it's going to be hard. But there were things that they could have done to negate that.
Why was the pitch in such bad condition? Because professional football at that level, we often see quite nice pitches. Did they just play a rugby match on the thing before AFL or something the day before?
No, there was nothing. Not to my mind. I don't know if there was anything else on. I mean, look, it's a hot day. Maybe it just wasn't watered properly. It was just
quite sandy.
Anything. Yeah, and just very bobbly. Like it was across the park.
Dodgy pitch. All right.
So it's unlucky.
So it was unlucky. So we go 2-1 down, and to be fair, that was my favourite part of the game. Watching Auckland stand up and absolutely go for it. Like without fear. And then eventually, we get this free kick on the edge of the box, 95th minute, and Moreno steps up and just smashes it towards the goal, high in the net. But when you watch the replay, it's literally gone through a hole.
It wasn't a great day for goalkeepers, I'll be honest.
No.
Pop it on wrist alert.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look,
Blair,
Melbourne City's goalkeeper could have done a lot better.
What did you make of the goal, Blair? Like, did you
absolute shocker from Beach.
Shocker? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like the XG on target for that shot is 0.01, which is essentially it's a 1% chance that it goes in and is saved 99% of the time.
What?
We got that 1%.
How do they work that out? That's from that spot. At that point in the game, the stats are 99% is going to miss.
So there's two different stats. So you have XG, which is the shot from that place, which includes missed shots, whereas XG on target is only shots that are on target. So, so for the XG, for example, is actually 0.04 because it takes into account a few other variables, whereas XG on target is only if the shot goes on target. And so it's essentially either scored or saved, and 99% of the time that's saved.
Wow. Okay. So it was an unlikely goal.
Because
usually when they're that close to the box, it is hard to score because normally it's you can't get up and over. Yeah. So he done exactly the right thing, which is just hit it hard. Like I always say, if you just hit it hard towards the goal, you've got a chance.
Just smash it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just smash it. So I mean, so personally, to wrap up the Melbourne game, I thought for me it was one of our best results because we'd come under an enormous amount of pressure. It had been a topsy-turvy game. Some of our decent players missing, and we've had a fight back. We've gone
also
down
want to just quickly shout out Jake Brimmer in that deeper role was fantastic. I absolutely love that. I really want to see that again. And Callan Elliott, I think, made like 12 defensive actions or something from right back.
Yeah. Interesting you picked that up because our next interview, as you know, we're going to play out is with Terry McFlynn. And he actually talked about that, how they played with the two centres and Brimmer came back, and he said that was a strategical move that changed the game. So we're going to be hearing a bit of that in a second. So the lads here are just going to take a little bit of a breather, and we're going to go to the interview that I did earlier today. And I started asking Terry McFlynn about the early days at Auckland FC. Is that right that you were the first employee, football-related employee of the club, or thereabouts?
Oh yeah, football related. Yeah, so obviously Nick Becker, the CEO, was obviously the first, and Mike Higgins was the commercial officer. So they were the first two in, and then from the football department, it was myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you've been there almost a bit more than a year, I think, and.
Yeah.
Like, if I'd said to you 12 months ago that, roll on a year, you'd be top of the league after 7 games, playing in front of crowds of 26,000, 2 derby victories under your belt, smashing A-League records all over the place, what would you have said to me, Terry?
I would have been very, very hopeful. But now, look, I think that the start that we've had has been fantastic. It's all credit to on the pitch to Steve and the boys and all the assistant coaches and performance team. Off the pitch has been amazing. What Nick and his team have done, filling up the stadiums and just the match day experience that's in and around the club at the minute. Everyone's talking about it. You're walking down the street and there's kids everywhere with Auckland FC shirts on, and everyone wants to be at the game, and the guys in the port are amazing as well. So it's a really good feeling. But at the minute, we know it's just a start, and we have to just keep building it.
That's right. It's a great start that it's been, and for us, the fans, it's been great to be part of such a thing. But for you sort of had a key job early on, which was basically to go out and find us a manager first of all, and some players. I mean, what was the tactic? First of all, talk about Steve. Was he always your number one target?
No, look, we had to do full due diligence and full research and a full scope of the world, really. The owner, Bill Foley, was very, very clear that we weren't coming into the competition just to take part. We were coming in to challenge and be successful. He wanted a head coach that knew the A-League, that had worked in the A-League, understood the salary cap, because that's a big one for a lot of coaches coming into the A-League from outside that don't understand the salary cap and the intricacies of it. So at that time, Steve was obviously just finished his time at Sydney FC. There was another coach who had just finished up, who had won the A-League as well. So both of them was interviewed. We interviewed another 7 coaches, so I think 9 in total. Nick and myself, we ran through the full process. I had worked with Steve previously at Sydney FC. We played together for a number of years and worked together over 15 years together. So I think once the interview process was complete, everyone that was involved agreed that Steve would be the right coach to lead the team in its inaugural year, which made things a lot smoother. Obviously, as we'd worked together, we know exactly how each other works. The style of football, the type of players is very similar. So we set about, first of all, developing a playing style. And then we brought Doug Coors in as head of recruitment. Again, with a playing style, we've got to find the players that fit the style. We developed a competency matrix in terms of what we were looking for each player in each position. We've always built squads with 2 players per position, and we continued that theme with this group. And it's been a really enjoyable process. We brought in the assistant coach, Danny Hay. We brought in the goalkeeper coach, Jonathan Gould. Carl Edwards came in shortly after that as analyst. So between the 5 or 6 of us, we had a lot of robust discussions around the type of players we were bringing in.
What type of players were you looking for? What was the parameters?
The remit deal to start with was we wanted to build a team and a club for the community, from the community. So there was a real heavy emphasis on getting as many New Zealand players as possible. So we basically got on the phones, called every single New Zealand footballer that we could get a hold of. Steve and myself actually flew up to Egypt when the All Whites was playing Egypt and Tunisia up there. We sat with all the guys. Darren Baisley was fantastic with us. We stayed in the same hotel as the team. We caught up with all the players for coffee and explained the project to them. This is what we wanted to do. This is how we were doing it. Some of the boys, as you've seen, obviously Nando Pinecker, Tommy Smith, Max Mada, they all decided, they wanted to come and be part of it this year. Other players were saying, well, I'm still under contract. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. It's definitely something that they want to be part of, playing in their home city in front of their friends, family. So yeah, we ended up with 18 Kiwi boys, which is a fantastic number, and I think that's shown that in the performances recently that the boys are playing for the city. And then again, we looked at what Australians was available, because obviously the Australian players are classed as domestic players for us here in New Zealand, whereas a New Zealand player is classed as a visa player in Australia for the A-League team. So that was one advantage we had. And again, Jake Brimmer, former Johnny Warren medalist, Dan Hall, back-to-back championship winner, and Scotty Galloway's won 2 or 3 championships as well. So we knew the boys we wanted to bring in needed to have the right mentality. They needed to be winners, people who are still ambitious to move on. To Dan at 24, Jake at 24, Scotty's a little bit older, but still have that ambitions to go to the next level. So once you got those guys done, then it was moving to the foreigners. And the foreign players are very, very important to your group in terms of the professionalism that they bring from the level where they've played at. And they have to be coming for the right reasons. So we took our time with the visa players. A lot of the questions obviously comes up about, well, what's your history? Who are you? You've actually never had a competitive game. So a lot of the players, in particular the foreign players, took a leap of faith in us by joining a football club that basically didn't exist.
Huge leap of faith for the foreign players. In terms of just going back to your chats up there in Egypt with the All Whites, we got a few in. Are you able to tell us what Chris Wood said to you when you asked him to come down and play for us?
Chris wasn't actually there on that trip. So he was one that we actually didn't face-to-face talk with. But
he's
the
for
rest of the
next
boys,
year, is he? Yeah.
Oh, he's doing an amazing job in the Premier League, and I think if as long as he's continued to score goals in the Premier League, I think it'd be better for him to stay there. But yeah, certainly at some point we'd love to have Chris at the football club, and I think it'd be an amazing story for New Zealand football and for all of Auckland.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Talking about marquee signings, Auckland FC haven't really got a marquee signing. I mean, we've got Sakai, real international footballer, a couple of other international footballers. But, I mean, you touched on it before. Was that kind of purposeful? Because a lot of the A-League teams, they do go for a marquee signing. But we seem to have done the opposite. We've gone for local blend of Australians, solid pros. Was that the idea?
Look, first and foremost, we wanted to get the right people in the building. We knew to build a culture from ground zero, you need good people, and that was a key focus. So we recruit on 2 things: character and competence. So as I said before, we built out the competency matrix as to what we were looking for from a hard skill set in terms of right back, centre back, left back, number 6, whatever that key position is the competency levels you can actually quantify that. Of the physical side of it as well, but one of the main things for us was to get the right characters in the building, and we do a lot of work behind the scenes on character references. We do a lot of work on the type of person that we're bringing in, and I think there's two ways to look at a marquee signing. You can have a commercial marquee, like a big name, where you can commercially generate revenue. And you can have a performance marquee. So for us, we decided that year one, the way we were building the club and the culture, that we wanted to have a team that was all together, a team that was united. And I think you can see that on the pitch, the culture that the boys have built, working for each other. Hiroki's a massive name in world football. Again, we were very, very fortunate that he loves New Zealand. He wanted to come here and live with his family. So yeah, that was a very, very easy conversation with him and his agent. And if anything, that gave us credibility when we were speaking to other foreign players and other visa players. That we had Hiroki Sakai was one of our visa players. That was a big draw card for us as well. It gave us credibility in an unknown market straight away.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the podcast a little bit earlier on, a few games ago, that the style was solid, as if you'd planned to build from the back with the number 1, obviously Paulson, incredible signing, and then the defenders all very experienced, very solid. And we looked at some of the stats from some of the games that we actually won, and we actually had less possession, very comfortable without the ball. Is that always the style you were looking for, those players who would be uncomfortable with the ball, very, very solid? And obviously in latter games we've seen some of our attacking players now coming to the fore. But was that sort of plan to build from the back, get the foundations right, and then go from there?
Yeah, look, I don't think it was a conscious effort. Obviously, that's something that we're very, very big on and very, very strong on. The defensive side of the game, we need to show a lot of respect to, because of this. You start every game with 1 point. So before you've even kicked the ball, you've got 27 points out of 27 games. So all you can do is lose 2 in a game. Add 2 or lose 1. So for us, as long as we were defensively sound, we knew that in the front third we had enough quality that's going to create chances. And then again, from a set piece point of view, we're very, very dangerous in terms of the size that we've got. So for us, the coaches work a lot of time on defence. But to play the style of play that we want to play and we are playing, the players needed to be fit. So we brought in Elias Bukaram, who's the head of performance. The great thing for where we sit within the group is that we had access to all Bournemouth's data in terms of the physical data. So pre-season, they went to the US, they went to LA. I think they played Arsenal, Wrexham, and LA Galaxy. We were here at North Harbour Stadium, and a lot of the tests that they were doing in the US, our boys was doing here. So straight away, we could see, right, physically, what does our players look like sitting alongside a Premier League player. So to have that data and then have a program in place to try and close that gap. I think you've seen in the games, and you just touched on it there, that we scored late on. Like we can run teams down, and we can
stay in the game, and that's half the task.
100%, and we can keep going 97, 98 minutes. So yeah, that's been a conscious effort in terms of the playing style and the physical output that the players need to be producing day in, day out to bring that style to life.
Yeah, and we've seen that play out. Like last week, of course, coming from behind twice, which we talked about on the podcast here. We hadn't done that yet, and that would be a test of resilience. How did the coaching staff feel about the result last week? Because for me, it was almost was the best one because we'd been tested. Look,
it was a big test, and Melbourne City, they're a great football club. They've won multiple championships, so they need to be respected, and they were. Going into the game, we did all our homework, we did all our due diligence. The boys had a real clear game plan. First half, we didn't execute the game plan, and that was clear. So the coaches addressed that at half time, changed the system a little bit, went with 2 9s, dropped Jake Brimmer back as a double 6. I thought Jake was fantastic in the second half, a real calming influence in the group. Young Finn made his debut, which was great to see, and that's what we want to do and we'll continue to do is give kids opportunities. He'll learn from the game. He's a good boy and he's learning day in, day out. But yeah, to come from behind twice in the game was pleasing. To go ahead, I think there was more in it than coming from behind twice. We came from behind we were 1-0 down, came back, then we went in front. We thought we had took the lead. Goals ruled out for offside. So that knocks the wind out of you, and the boys could have crumbled then. Then we score an own goal, so we go behind again. And again, that could have been an upset for some of the boys, but the resilience they showed just to keep going. And then to get the equaliser at the end, I think we definitely deserved a point from the game. Disappointing. We could have won it. But the most pleasing thing for me, Dale, coming off the pitch was that the belief in the group. Coming off the pitch, a lot of the boys were disappointed to get a draw away at Melbourne City, which again is a big result. They're a big team, they're a big club, they're good players. So that for me cements the feeling within our group that we belong at this level.
You belong, and we're top of the league. We do belong. There's been some great moments so far. I've been to all the home games. Watched the other ones away on the TV. Some of the connection between the players and the coaching staff and the crowd at Mount Smart. Like, could you guys have hoped for that? I mean, I was there the first game against Brisbane. 25 odd thousand in there. Like, what what did that feel like to be in the camp? And I mean, because you could have started this football club and only a few thousand turned up. I mean, what did it feel like to find? Did you finally realise that, yeah, actually we're onto something here?
Yeah, look, I think that side of it, what Nick Becker, the CEO, and the team off the field have done is amazing, absolutely amazing, and I don't think that can be understated at this point. And I remember driving into Mind Smart, and I sent Nick a text and just said, mate, at some point today, step back and understand what you've done. And it's funny, actually, we after the derby, we were sitting and we went for dinner after the game, and we're having dinner, and the guy walked in with a Guillermo Mai number 10 Auckland FC shirt on, and we just sort of sat back and said, well, 10 months ago this didn't exist, and now you've got a Kiwi man in his mid-30s walking into a restaurant with an Auckland FC shirt on with a Uruguayan player's name on his back. It was like, this is special.
Football's come to Auckland or come to New Zealand for the first time, I really feel. I mean, obviously the All Whites have had sort of big results down the years, and the Phoenix, have been great. But this feels different. This feels that we're there not to make the numbers up. I mean, you'd be aware of the previous renditions of the A-League teams coming out of Auckland. They didn't fare well. What do you feel is the difference this time?
Oh, look, I can't speak to what was, because I wasn't here. Obviously, I remember the New Zealand Knights. I played against them. I was at Sydney FC, and actually here on this pitch here at North Harbour Stadium where we train is where they played. So obviously know them, and obviously Danny Hay was the first captain of that team. So we know the history around it. Look, I think the thing for me, Dale, is that when we were doing it, again, going back to what I said before about having good people in the building, having good people in the organisation. Nick, again, has done an amazing job building out his team. And as much as, we're giving young Kiwi boys an opportunity to play professional football, he's giving young Kiwi boys, girls, men and women opportunities to work in professional sport. And again, everybody's here for the right reasons. Everyone wants to build this thing to be the best that it possibly can be. And again, I want to say thank you to all the admin team and the staff off the pitch for the work that they do continuously. You speak to the players, they love running out at Mind Smart in front of 15, 20, 25,000 people. And that's testament to the hard work of the people off the pitch. And I had some friends came over for the derby, and we were sitting watching the game. The two ex-players, they played in England, they live in Melbourne now. And one of them just started shaking his head halfway through the game, and he just started laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? And he said, mate, how is this possible? He said, you got 26,000 people in here. You got a supporter group behind the goal that 10 months ago didn't know each other. Now they're standing there singing songs that they've made up in unison, united behind the team. And then you got a kids' playground at one end of the stadium. So it's like there's something for everyone. There is something for everyone, and it's a great day out. The match day experience is unreal. What the coaches are doing with the team is bringing a lot of joy to people's life. And again, the atmosphere that the port create is, it's just a perfect mix.
You mentioned the slide at the end of the ground. I understand there's going to be an artificial beach coming in now. Do you know much about this, Terry?
I do. There's a beach being constructed at the minute. I think it's 60 meters long by 6.5 or 7 meters wide. There's going to be beach soccer. There's going to be cocktail bar. There's going to be live music. So again, it's, Kiwis love the beach. We've got a game of football on in the middle of summer, so we thought, well, hang on, why don't we bring the beach to the football? And when I say we, I can't take any credit whatsoever for the beach. It's completely Nick and his team off the pitch, which is amazing. But going back to talk about the slide, so we had Brisbane Roar match day 1, and we went for dinner the night before. The owner Bill was in town, and so we went for a call up with him for dinner, and we had a couple of commitments at Go Media Stadium in the morning of the match day. So I drove across there, got there about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I could see someone going down the slide, and I thought, who the hell's this? So I walked across, and it was Nick, the CEO, and
wanted to be first down the slide, did he?
Well, I said, what are you doing? He said, well, if we're going to ask 500 or 600 kids to go down this slide, we've got to make sure it's safe. So I think that's the type of man he is, and it's just how invested everyone is in making sure that this thing's real.
It's a beautiful story. And what's it like working for a billionaire, essentially, in Bill? Does Bill, sort of, apart from going to the dinner, does he pop in now and again?
He hasn't been back since the first game,
Right.
But we have a meeting with him every week online.
Sure.
And a few of the board members as well. So just in around the football department, where we're at with things, how we're tracking on and off the park, injury updates, travel, logistics, salary cap. Just basically, so he's fully invested. He's fully across everything. And the best thing is that he's accessible. So if we need something, or even just to check in, have a chat with him, and a bit of advice or sounding board, it's refreshing to be able to have those conversations with people who've got, again, multiple sporting organizations right across the world, and to know that the owner genuinely cares for what's happening here it's a joy, and all the boys know that. They feel it as well. So when Bill was here, he came in the change room, met with everyone, spoke with everyone. So yeah, it's a very, very positive environment.
Yeah, I can imagine. And talking about the connection, with the players and the fans particularly, I've watched them after all these victories that we've had come over, mainly to the Port end, and the singing carries on. And there looks like there's genuine joy in these players' eyes that potentially they haven't experienced this in their careers before, because like we know that these players have come from the four corners of the earth, played at varying levels of football. Now they're in front of 25,000 people who are just like cheering their name. I mean, how has that affected the players? What's the feedback?
Oh, the players love it, and again, we made a clear message to the players when everyone came in that we were playing for all of Auckland. And that's the reason for the name Auckland FC. There's no other connotation that needed to go with it. We're just Auckland Football Club. So we're a football club for all of Auckland, for everyone. And I think that shows as well in the demographic of players that we've got in, Dan's Fijian, Hiroki's Japanese. So the multiculturalism across Auckland is represented throughout our group. And like you said, the very first game we had at Auckland United, and the Port guys turned up behind the goals, and the players went to thank them. We've had a couple of functions down at Tyler Street Sports Bar, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And the players, they've responded. They love it. Like I said, they love running out in front of 15 to 25,000 people every week, and the noise that the Port bring. It's an atmosphere that I've got a lot of friends now since I moved to Auckland that are rugby fans, and rightly so. They've come to a couple of games, and they said it's a completely different atmosphere. And we spoke about it the other day. Like, we want sport in this country to succeed, and in this city. So, like, we train here alongside Moana Pacifica. We share a stadium with the Warriors. The Blues are down the road. So it's like, for us, there's something for everyone. And if we can play a little part in our journey of creating something for the people of Auckland, then that's what we'll continue to do.
I think you're right. This club is for everyone, and the Port is fantastic. But I've spent time at different parts of the ground. I'm in the Port sometimes. The other week, I actually had another friend come, and he was sitting up on the grass bank, not down where the slide is, but between the Port and the other stand.
Yes.
And he'd never been to football before. He heard me talking about it at work. Comes to the football. He's having a nice drink. He's not a football person. He goes, it'd be lovely to bring a nice little cheese platter to the game next time. You know what I mean? I love the fact that this is for all Aucklanders, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I think the success of the team is helping, of course. Now I have a question from one of my colleagues on the podcast, Robbie, and he actually asked, all teams have goals and ambitions at the beginning of the season. Because of the start to the season we've had, have those goals and ambitions altered?
No. Look, we set our goals internally. We haven't communicated them outside of the four walls of the football club. Everyone knows what we're working towards. Everyone knows what it takes to achieve those goals individually and collectively. We actually asked the players for their own individual goals as a person, and then collectively for the group. Everything aligned. We've written them down. We've put them in a drawer, and we're working towards them every day. So So for us, like I said at the very start, the one thing we never shied away from, or we never didn't communicate, was we want to be competitive, and we're not here to make up numbers. So what that looks like at the end of the season, time will tell. But certainly we're not coming in just to make up numbers and be part of a competition that has been around for 20 years. There's someone has to win the competition every year. It's just the way.
You'll probably give me a diplomatic answer, but surely playoffs are the minimum goal now, right?
Look, again, without giving away too much, if you think the number of teams in the competition and the playoffs, you got to make the top 6, so you're actually finishing mid-table. Now, I don't know if you class that as success or not by finishing mid-table. If you ask another club,
I said minimum goal. That's your minimum goal.
Yeah, look, I think I'm maybe getting a little bit away there, but I think any clubs around the world, if you ask them what the goals are and they say to finish mid-table, it would be completely underwhelming for the supporters and underwhelming for the corporates and underwhelming for everyone involved in the club. So I think you've got to set your goals a little bit higher than that. Look, certainly as an unknown club, as a club that didn't exist 12 months ago, with no players, with no coaches, with no staff, we didn't even have a football. So to be where we are now and to be talking the way we are, it's not anything more than ambitious.
All right. Well, let's say the words grand final. You, Terry, as I know, you were two grand finals captained one of them. Is that right? So, I mean, what sort of words of wisdom would you have, around what it takes to get to a grand final and then go on and win a grand final?
Oh, look, I think it's way too early in our history to be talking about grand finals at this stage. Certainly, again, we have never shied away from this. We want to be the first New Zealand team to win the A-League.
Yeah.
The timeline on that we haven't said. But certainly, you look across the group, and there's enough players in there that's played in big games. Grand finals obviously a big game. So at the minute, the players are taking each game on its own merits. We analyse the opposition. Carl Edwards, who's our lead analyst, does a fantastic job, sits with the coaches and works out a game plan. So again, we take each game on its merits, give the opponents the respect they deserve, and then go from there. And we just keep building.
And looking back into history, I see you were known as Saint Terry over there in Sydney. What was all that about, Terry?
I think it's more just obviously because I'm from Ireland. And I think a couple of lads ran with it. Obviously, St. Patrick's the patron saint of Ireland. So, I always wore the number 15. So the stained glass window had 15 panels. So, there were good times at the football club there. Again, had a lot of success there. And very, very similar to the guys at the Port. Very, very passionate supporters that just wants their team to do well.
Great. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, Terry. Last question really is, another game at the weekend, another home game. We've got a few injuries, but what's the kind of outlook for that game?
Yeah, look, the travel across to Melbourne and back was pretty smooth. We got back in on Monday, boys had Tuesday off, train Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with a lead into the game on Saturday. We'll do a captain's run tomorrow at Mount Smart. Preparation's gone really well. Boys are, like you say, apart from the ones that we spoke about, Dan Hall and Cam Housen, the rest of the boys are all fit and healthy, ready to go. Look, we're really looking forward to it. We played Western United in pre-season, and that was a good game. Both teams tried to play football the right way. We're really looking forward to it. Obviously, as you said, the beach will be in play this weekend as well. So hopefully we get a few more supporters come down just to have a look at the beach and hang around and be on this game and stay and buy memberships and merchandise and be part of the club and be part of what we're trying to achieve. So, but no, we're really looking forward to the game. And it's something that, like I said, the boys love doing. They love playing in front of their fans, their friends and family, in front of the Port, in front of everyone from Auckland. So we just can't wait to get back out there on Saturday.
I love it. I love it. And, feedback from the fans and us on this podcast, it's been wonderful for us to be able to build our life around a football season again for a lot of the football people in this city. So, to all the players and the staff and the club, we've been overwhelmed by what a great experience it's been for so many different people. So thank you guys to that. And thank you for coming on the show tonight, Terry.
No problem at all.
Good luck for the rest of the season, of course, if we don't speak to you before. But thank you very much. That was Terry McFlynn there, the Auckland FC's director of football. Pretty conclusive interview there, eh? In the end. What do you reckon?
Mate, well done. I've
Brilliant
thoroughly
interview.
I was just I couldn't take my eyes off that interview. That was well done to you, mate. Really good.
Yeah, no, it was really lovely to talk to Terry, and he was so frank, and he's obviously a big player at this football club, and so great to get all those insights. Like I love hearing the story. There was a bunch of stories that I'll reference quite quickly. I love the story of Nick Becker going down the slide on day one.
It's so good.
Well, I love that, and it does show that right from the top there's a heart here. Also just some great insights into how we put this team together,
I've also heard some things from some lads that work at the club about McFlynn and like his involvement in the match day squads and whatnot. Like they were in the box with him, and Randall was subbed on about 15 minutes into Randall's cameo. McFlynn apparently just went, he's not playing the derby. Yeah, and then Randall just faded away. I think he's back in the squad this week, I believe. But yeah. So.
And then look, Terry's background with football, like he was a serious player.
I know, I can see.
To captain a club and win a grand final, just to he's got a bit of football nous about him, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's had a really interesting career. He was sort of playing in the English leagues, actually down in the conference. Played 3 seasons for Margate, which is my hometown team. That's where I was born. I referenced that to him, and he sort of, before the interview, I referenced that, and his mind moved back to a distant time, 3 years down playing at Margate. Then he comes over to Sydney, and is incredibly successful. And just really enjoy it. And also, I think one of the things I noted down was, and we've noted this, that the players are fit, and they are super fit, and they go to the wire in every game. And did you think that was interesting what he was saying about the preseason with the Bournemouth AFC stats coming in? They're kind of trying to keep in line with the Premier League players. Did we know about that? They were doing that?
I sort of assumed that they would be doing something similar. Like that's the whole point of having a football group, so to speak.
Network,
you share all that kind of things with those smaller clubs, and because that's how you find players like N'Golo Kante. He was found playing in the 4th division of France, and they had underlying stats that were like, there's a bunch of stats here that say he's going to be a really good player. Won a Premier League with Leicester, So I imagine that's the sort of thing they're going to be looking for with Auckland FC. Like, this guy has great stats, particular areas, and could be worth a look at for other clubs in Europe or something. And
I'll just say it was a fantastic interview. Sentiments what Robbie said. I couldn't stop listening to it. I thought it was fantastic, and. If he's listening to this, Terry, thanks for your time. That was absolutely awesome. Who knows if he listened to it, but if he does, like to say. But just I'll keep it brief. Just the one thing that I just really liked was that there still is a place in the game where, and my football team did this when they were recruiting the 16 or 17 players. They were still looking at character of the player. You can look at data as much as you like, and it's obviously important, and you can look at the stats, but they still
balanced it.
Yeah, the one thing that really struck me, and this is what Birmingham City did, was that they actually asked for references and referrals from the places that the person had been to actually get an idea of what that person was like and the character that they were. And they didn't just even go to their football teams. They even went as far back as where they'd studied or where they'd, before they became a professional footballer, they'd been to either a college or a polytechnic or whatever, to a polytechnic.
Yeah.
So, it's just fantastic that is still part of the recruitment process. Yeah, and also I love that you still try to get a scoop, Dale. And your investigative journalism still hasn't left you. You have to still after that Roger Cook moment for those people listening in the UK person. A Roger Cook moment. It's fantastic. So good.
Yeah. Sorry, Robbie, you were going to dart in there.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say it very much feels like, and if anyone sort of knows, particularly Australian sporting and the environment with the Sydney Swans, for example, the no dickhead policy that they have, it just feels like that Auckland's kind of gone down this road. Like you just want good people in the right roles, doing the right things, and it seems like they've hit that mark. And that's just not just the playing staff. It's the coaching. It's the behind the scenes. It's whoever's doing the socials. It's the media people. I've said this from the start. This feels right. They've done everything right, to my eyes, anyway. So
I think you're right.
It's been great. It's been really good.
You know what's very telling for me when I'm down watching it is when the subs are warming up in those last 10, 20 minutes. And they are as one, they are with this team. Sometimes you don't get in the team, your head can go down or but these guys are as much part of everything as anybody, And I think that's actually played out with the fact, some of the subs have come on and won games or got us points, So they're a squad that are together. They're a management team that are together. The fans are together. Like, it's happy days, really. I mean, we're just charging on. I mean, I noticed he wouldn't be drawn whether we were going to go to the grand final or not.
Oh no, he said we're winning the league. That's what I took out of that.
Yeah,
exactly.
100% took that.
I think you said that. Right?
Golden toilet seat.
Yeah, 100%. It was a good question.
It was a really and look. He did play. He played a pretty good straight bat to it, but in saying that, you could kind of see he's like, no, we're not aiming for mid-table. Come on, man.
No, I think he's a serial. Well, yeah. Is he a serial winner? He probably is. If he isn't, he talks as if he was,
Yeah,
he wants it, doesn't he? You can tell.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, no, it was great to have Terry on. So thanks to the club for putting him up. So moving on a little bit, we've got the chats open now. One that's come up is old Harry here. Auckland undefeated run might come to an end this week. 2 weeks ago, conceded their first goal. 1 week ago, their first draw. This week, they'll have their first defeat, and I'll be in the away bay. Oh,
jog on, Harry. Come on, mate.
Yeah, Harry's the Western United fan from Twitter.
Oh, good on you.
Okay. He is from Western United. I was just checking he wasn't from the Phoenix, because I know there's a skullduggery going on.
Yeah, old mate in his Phoenix jersey. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Western United. So what Harry thinks they're going to smash us. But what do we know about Western United? Robbie, do you want to give us a quick précis of Western United for us Auckland FC fans?
Yep. So generally, Western United expansion side won the league a couple of seasons ago during, I think it was just coming out of COVID, but have kind of, it was almost Leicester-esque in that it came out of nowhere and it's not really eventuated to anything since. They've kind of refocused what they're doing with Johnny Aloisi. They've promoted a lot of youth recently. And last week's win against Sydney was very impressive on a number of fronts. Well, you can partially put that down to Sydney's.
The only two teams that have conceded more than Sydney are Perth and Brisbane. So
yeah. And look, Sydney's defensive tactics were quite suicidal. Like they were defending well past.
They lost 4-3, right? They're one of the 4-3s that I'm desperate to watch.
And if you watch any of the highlight clips, Sydney's back four is defending past the centre circle in the opposition territory. They're that high, so they were just always susceptible to quick counterattacks. And Western United's got a lot of pace. Dangerous side on the counterattack for that reason. Their spine, I think, is very solid. In Matt Sutton, they've got the best keeper in the league in terms of saves. He currently leads the league. In that. Tomoki Imai, veteran, hard central defender. Angus Thurgate, one of the best midfielders, young Australian, and Hiroshi Ibasuki, Adelaide's leading goal scorer in A-League history, and just a great veteran presence to have up front. And then they got a lot of little bit parts that can do a role. They are a dangerous side. that can cause a few problems. As far as this weekend goes, I go back to what I've said previously. There's still nothing that I've seen to this point that's to the contrary that Auckland can do a job. I think Western United may cause a few problems, but I think Auckland's still too strong.
I just want to make a quick point out to Harry Hughes. Said once watches Wallity, but if Shamoon is playing, he is one to watch at left back. And also just want to say we missed Noah Botic, 6 goal contributions this season, and just generally been on fire. So
yeah.
So they're going to be
a great combination.
Pushover.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. That in Ibusuki, you've got a mid-30-year-old veteran presence up front. Noah Botic is a really exciting young striker who has been likened as the next Mark Viduka potentially in that sort of in the way he plays.
Big man, little man combination up front.
Yes. Yeah, correct. And Albo Wallati's come on really well this season as well. Very much a great young talent to watch. And Shamoon, Harry is right. As a young defender, he's come on in strides. He came on, I think, back end of last season, really caught the eye and just needs, regular game time in his position. He's a very good player.
And team news is Verstraete is in the squad. He's in the matchday squad, potentially starting from the bench. Do we think?
I reckon probably on the bench in case of emergency kind of situation. Because his last back injury put him out for 4 months. So I imagine they don't want to rush him back in and risk the season,
Who are they going to play though? If they don't play him, who are they going to? I don't think the McKinley experiment went particularly.
Yeah, that was also arguably the best midfield in the league. So maybe they do give it another crack. And
I still think they need to could they rejig things? Because I'm amazed that Moreno hasn't managed to get a start.
He's got to start. He has to start this game.
Agree.
Did Auckland have enough that they could just take on Western United? Yeah, they could actually be a bit more forward-footed and maybe
a Brimmer in there as a 6. Brimmer in there.
And play Moreno. Yeah, just replace Moreno for McKinley and just play a bit more up there.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally with Western United, Angus Thurgate plays that holding midfield role. Reece Bozanovsky, young Aussie talent, very promising talent as well, tends to get forward a little bit more. So it's not necessarily a flat midfield four for Western. They tend to play maybe more of a diamond. So whether they look to change formation slightly, whether that's Gallegos holding as the central, the sole number 6, and that allows Brimmer to go forward, or even do they look at bringing on someone like a Tommy Smith who can play a defensive midfield role? Same with Nando. Do they potentially go down that road if Bimby has his heart set on playing 2 6s or Brimmer? There's a number of options. I'd be interested to see how it plays out. Definitely.
Yeah.
Good question on the chat about Joey Champness. What's happened to him? Looked like a good winger. Says
something I've noticed is he's not on the game day cards. Like you go looking for his name, he's not there. So I imagine he's just fallen to the wayside essentially. Like we've got a ton of depth out wide.
True. Gillian's not moving. He's playing
Moreno, Gillian, Rogerson, Toomey, and Randall are all that's very good A-League depth, for wingers. And Joe Champness on top of that,
Yep. So we're going into a pretty busy festive period. Melbourne Victory and Adelaide to come as well. And they're their 2 top sides. So we've got Western United this week, and those 2 coming up. So looking at those 3 games, looks like it could be a little bit stickier for us.
Adelaide, I'm not convinced by yet. All of their games have been against the bottom 6. Don't realize they are unbeaten, but they also drew to Perth. It's just you're one of those teams that I feel like they could continue the run, or they could crash and burn. It's the A-League. You don't know until it happens.
Yep. Yeah, correct. I tipped 0 last week in one of my tipping comps because it's bloody impossible to pick.
A lot of big away wins last week. I saw a lot of big away wins
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adelaide's big test is this week on Friday, I think, against Sydney, who have been struggling. Yeah. They're not in the top 6 themselves, but I think they're probably the best team that they're likely to come up against.
7th, so.
Yeah.
So bottom 7
top 17
now.
I think you've got to give it a bit of time. You know, we always say that usually, like, you know, my team's been used to being stuck in the Championship and the League One where there's 20 odd teams or something. So we usually say give it 10 to 12 games. That's when you start to see, you know, the good teams start to come to the top and the bad starts to go to the bottom. Obviously, it's a smaller league, but I think we're about that point now where you're starting to maybe see a bit of separation. You're starting to maybe see the teams that are not going to do. I don't know if it's at that point. Might be because
Perth and Brisbane have made their placement, their ideas clear on where they want to be this season.
I think the bottom 3 is definitely the bottom 3.
They look terrible, those teams.
We're at that point.
Yeah,
I think.
And as far as victory go, there's just a quick sort of massive news out of the victory camp this week with Patrick Osnorbo leaving Melbourne Victory to potentially. I think the word is that he's going to take an assistant role at Yokohama in Japan. But this is on the eve of the Melbourne Derby, which is their biggest game, arguably their biggest game on the calendar. Days out from that. And the fact that we get them on New Year's Day just a couple of days later, it's not a bad time to get them. It'd be interesting to see how that derby plays out this weekend. So I think Auckland's, again, there's an element of luck coming into it, but, you know, you can only play what's in front of you.
Easy.
all of a sudden, those 3 games, we'd be looking at getting 5
become
or 6
winnable.
points at least. Yeah,
absolutely.
6, 7 points.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great still to be top after those games. All right, well, we're going to wrap up. It's been a wonderful show tonight, obviously having Terry on and talking to you boys. There is one last piece of big news to reveal, which is the will he, won't he story of Matt and whether he's going to go and watch Auckland FC in the flesh this weekend. Over to you, Matthew.
I think it might be happening. I think
you're going.
He's going to
game.
Yeah, I think I've yeah. Hey. Yeah, I think I might be ready. The irony is that I hate the beach.
Oh, well, you don't have to go down that end.
So the irony that they've set up a beach for me. It's just completely unnecessary. They obviously didn't get my memo. When they sent that email and they asked me. Because I'm not all about the positives, I'm all about the negatives. And they asked me the 5 worst things they could have put in, and I'm sure that the beach was at least in my top 3. Could have even breached into the top 2. But
there you go. They put a beach in for you.
I think that's the bombshell news. Yeah, on that bombshell. Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to you coming down with me. Great to see more stuff for the kids, though. You know, I may be bringing my toddler this weekend, which is an experiment. But I'm thinking of beach.
That's what that's your nickname for me, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fine. I told you not to tell anybody that you called me your toddler.
That's great stuff. Blair,
I'm gonna get that on the. I'll get an Auckland shirt. Toddler.
You're gonna get an Auckland shirt, toddler.
Yeah.
What about the rest of you guys? Blair, what are you up to down there in the port? No doubt.
Port front and centre. I'll be there. You'll see me.
Helping Sky and Channel 10 get that perfect shot, you know, with
the front right there.
Yeah. I'll be sure to get the old Santa coat out as well, and you know, get in the Santa spirit. Yeah. Not quite that far.
No, they used to do blue Santa kits. They used to do blue Santa.
Yeah, I went looking for one, but like, it was too late to order one in, and it's like, a red one will do.
Next year.
Yeah.
Too much time on your hands, Blair. And what about you, Robbie?
I'll be working. I'm actually working on the sack race game, Brisbane v Perth, which follows Auckland Western on Saturday. So I'll be keeping half an eye on it. But oh god, that's interesting. It's an interesting must-win game, yet neither can afford to lose. It's fascinating game, which will probably end up as a 5-4 thriller. So
you're absolutely right. There's so many random things with this A-League that happens every week.
Why the league is the best.
It is enjoyable.
Best league in the world.
Roll out the cliches. Is it too early in the season to call it a 6-pointer, as they would say in the UK?
There's no relegation, is there? You can't have.
Yeah, it's true. You can't get. Yeah, that's true.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me tonight. And if you've listened out there or watched us, please do subscribe to us. Please do give us a like. Tell your mates how great this podcast is. And enjoy the game this weekend, wherever you're going to watch it, whether you're going to be at home with a few mates and a few beers, or whether you're going to go down and sit on the beach with me and my toddler.
Yes.
All right, guys. And that is Nice Job Report for this evening. Up the ports.
Up the ports.